Well, there are more than 1 billion Muslims worldwide. Millions of them are American. But the controversy over the Islamic Center near Ground Zero seems to have touched off a national conversation about Islamophobia and whether Americans need to change their perceptions of Muslims. Consider this. A recent Time magazine poll asked if people believed Islam was more likely than other faiths to encourage violence against non-believers. 46% of those polled said yes. It's opinions like these that prompted the grassroots American Muslim group, My Faith, My Voice, and it put out this PSA.
In recent weeks,
a lot of people have been telling you
what to think about Muslims.
They say you should fear me,
suspect me,
hate me. But the truth is, I don't want to impose my faith on you.
I don't want to take over this country.
and I don't support terrorism of any form.
Islam teaches me to
respect all people,
improve society,
and stand up for justice for all.
I am here and have been here for generations,
wanting the same thing you do.
The chance to pursue
life,
liberty,
peace, and happiness.
I am an American.
I'm a Muslim.
This is my faith.
This is my voice.
Yo soy americana, soy musulmana, esta es mi creencia y esto es mi voz en paz.
I'm an American, I'm a Muslim, this is my faith, this is my voice.
Well, who better to give us some more perspective on this than world-renowned spiritual teacher Deepak Chopra. He's joining me live from New York on the day that his new book comes out. Now, Deepak, Muhammad, the story of the last prophet, it's in bookstores now, but it was actually released as early as a week ago as an e-book. It's unprecedented. Why did you and your publisher make that choice?
Well, there's a lot of buzz on the internet, on Twitter, on Facebook. A lot of conversations going on in places like Saudi Arabia, the Middle East, and it's getting a lot of attention. The book is getting a lot of attention. A few people are worried that, in fact, it may inflame tensions. I don't think so. My book is about more awareness. You know, 63% of Americans say they know nothing about Islam or Muhammad, and yet they have all these perceptions, as you just saw. Perception is reality, Kira. And if you want to dislike someone or you want to be violent against someone, you have to demonize them in their head. And you demonize in your head as well. And if you don't demonize them, then you can't be violent. And the demonization occurs because we are not aware of who the other person is. When we are, then, as your PSA showed, they're just like us.
And what's interesting is that, I mean, I remember when the war in Afghanistan began, you know, we're talking 9 years ago. I remember just this flurry of education that took place, and so many people were wanting to learn more about Islam, and there was so much more talk about how we need to have better relations with Muslims. And, you know, now here we are, 9 years later, and you look at everything that's been happening in the Middle East, and then you look at these controversies here in the United States, from, you know, this pastor in Florida wanting to burn the Quran, to the animosity about this Islamic Center to be built near Ground Zero, you know, and it still seems like all these years later we're so immersed in ignorance still, and why is that?
Again, ignorance comes from lack of knowing the other and lack of awareness. You know, I was with President Clinton the other day at a private function, and he said this Islamic Center could be actually a creative opportunity. Let's dedicate the Islamic Center not only to interfaith dialogue, but to the memory of and in honor of all the victims who died, including the Muslims. 60 Muslims were killed in that terrorist attack. So, you know, just like the Ku Klux Klan is Christian, but not all Christians are Ku Klux Klan, or Timothy McVeigh was Christian, but not Christians, all Christians are like Timothy McVeigh, we should realize that the majority of Muslims are like us. For me, the great thrill in writing this book was the mystery of revelation. You know, all scripture is revelatory scripture. So how does an illiterate person like Muhammad, who knows nothing about reading and writing, sitting in a cave, suddenly hear the angel Gabriel say, recite in the name of the Lord who created human life from congealed drops of blood, recite in the name of the Lord who writes by the book, who dictates by the book, and who reveals to mankind what was not known before. I think that just the awe and the mystery of revelation and scripture shows that there are certain universal truths, that the universal truths can download through a human nervous system even though it doesn't know how to read and write. That's the mystery of the Prophet of Islam.
Interesting. I want to get back to that point in a minute, but as you talk about Prophet Muhammad, and you wrote the trilogy. You wrote a book on Buddha. You wrote a book on Jesus. Were you surprised by anything that you learned about Muhammad? What's different from Prophet Muhammad? From when you look at the life of Jesus or the teachings of Jesus and the life and teachings of Buddha.
Well, Jesus is the Son of God, and he says, I am the Son of God. Buddha says, I'm the enlightened one, I'm awake. Muhammad says, I'm a man among men, I'm just like you. Everything that happens that is good in life comes from Allah, and everything that's not good, I take the responsibility. Now, that's a great leader. Muhammad is more like you and me, Kira. He has paradoxes, he has contradictions, he has questioning, he questions his own motives, and ultimately he has the ability to listen to a universal domain of consciousness. But he's struggling all the while. He's a married man, he has children, he's a very ordinary person, and to boot, he's illiterate, and yet he has revelation coming through him.
Well,
that was what surprised me about Muhammad.
And the fact that you point out that he was illiterate, you also point out the fact that he has this 6-year-old wife. Are you concerned about a backlash because of those type of details that you write about when it comes to Prophet Muhammad?
Those are well accepted details, even in the Muslim culture and the Muslim world, and we cannot judge across the abyss of time. In those days, in that culture in Arabia, marriage was often a way of preserving lineage and cementing alliances between tribes. And in fact, Aisha, his wife, was betrothed to someone else before she married him and ended up being his greatest champion. She is responsible for 2,225 hadiths or opinions on divine law after he died, and is regarded by Muslims as the mother of the believers.
It really is an important time to know more about Muhammad right now, isn't it?
Yes, of course. And I think this is a very crucial time where we need to come up with creative solutions and not keep demonizing people. In the words of Mahatma Gandhi, an eye for an eye will render us all blind.
Deepak Chopra, the book is Muhammad, A Story of the Last Prophet. Always good to see you, Deepak. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Kira. Thank you very much for having me.